Hello everybody, good evening and welcome to the United Stands. I'm Mark Goldbridge and this is your latest Manchester United news as we preview Manchester United's home game against Crystal Palace on Saturday afternoon. Also, we'll be unveiling Ten Hag's, what we believe is Ten Hag's best front six, and I think he will play it against Crystal Palace on Saturday afternoon. I don't think he's not going to be putting out his best 11 because there's still quite a few injuries and we've got a few updates on when they're going to be coming back. But we certainly can look at what the best front six is and this big game against Crystal Palace and a few other bits as well. And we can take your questions as per usual. But of course, it is a preview. So that means that it's time for the TUS Predictor. If you don't play the TUS Predictor, it comes around every preview and you can play it when every Man United game is on. It's exclusively to the United Stand community. Last week, Ada won £550. Congratulations to Ada, with the rest of the prize pot being shared amongst other lucky winners. So congratulations. If you want to play, we have a £1,000 cash pot that can increase depending on how many people enter. We also have a free version that you can play where you could win a share of £100. All you have to do is there are 10 scenarios for you to pick. It's just change your selections up until kickoff as well. 10 selections in relation to the game on Saturday could be like, will Bruno get an assist? Yes or no. Will United get more than 3 corners? Yes or no. That sort of thing. Play against each other. You can play and you could win up to 500, more than 550. Ada won 550. Or you can play the free version as well. Links in the video description. Or you can scan the QR code. Play against us on that. Remember, you've got to be over 18. Always gamble responsibly. Terms and conditions apply. Let's get into the game. Let's get into the game on Saturday because I think there will be goals. Hi, Mark. My boss gave me Friday off. Happy weekend, says J. Dot. As long as he didn't say take Friday off and every other day off, that could be the sack, mate. That could be the sack. But he's gifted 5 memberships, so he's feeling happy. Legend J. Dot in the chat. So, Manchester United facing off against Crystal Palace on Saturday. It has a familiar feel because we played them on Tuesday night in the Carabao Cup, but it'll be a very different Crystal Palace side. They have played, they will be playing people like Eze, a few others will come back into their team and there'll be a different proposition, pretty much a different back four. I think Anderson of Crystal Palace is a really good defender, actually. Get your alarm clocks ready for 7 o'clock tomorrow, actually, because we've got a new episode of the podcast coming out, dropping on a Friday. Brilliant game to play on there, but a really interesting thing that we've done. But Anderson gets a mention in that. I think he's having a very, very good season for them again. I think Anderson of Crystal Palace is a player that a top 6 club should be looking at. I think he's really, really, really good. Crystal Palace this season have away from home, won 1, drawn 1, lost 1, 3 scored, 4 conceded. They are a team that we saw on Tuesday, a really interesting stat. They haven't scored a goal in the first half this season. All their goals do come in the second half. So this is how I think Manchester United will line up against Crystal Palace on Saturday. That is the team that I have gone for. Give us your thoughts. I don't know how old Anderson is. Marvin says he's got no pace. I'm not saying Man United should buy him. I just think he's a really good centre-back. Maybe he's found his limit at Crystal Palace. So, Onana in goal, Dalot and Reguilon at full-back, although Reguilon will face a late fitness test, but we think it's illness. Ericsson, McTominay and Reguilon will all be assessed tomorrow. All 3 of those are injured. Ill. So, I've gone with the back 4 of Reguilon, Lindelof, Varane and Dalot. The latest on Martinez is what I've said to you a few times now. He's getting foot pain. Now, it's not a serious injury. It's not a recurrence of what happened to him last season. Remember, it was a broken metatarsal. He's getting foot pain. This is not unusual. If you think about if you break your wrist, God forbid, just use the other hand. Then you even though it heals, you might still get some aching in the wrist or the leg when you've broken it. So it's not uncommon for a player to break a bone and then have some aching. It's also quite psychological because it's the same, it's pain in the same area. And I think this is something that Martinez is suffering with a bit at the moment. The club are comfortable that it's nothing serious, but Martinez is obviously complaining about pain there. So I don't know whether it's something he's going to have to play through, or whether he will just be given a little bit more rest. But look, ultimately, I think Victor Lindelof played brilliant on Tuesday when he came on at left back. I think he's played really well this season, and If Martinez can't play, it should be Lindelof and Varane. Certainly shouldn't be Maguire or Evans, in my opinion. So I think that's the back four. Midfield three, it's the one I think everybody wants to see. It's Casemiro, it's Amrabat, and it's Bruno Fernandez. I think that midfield three has to be given a go. It's the one that the majority of the fans think is the best midfield three combination. I think it's the way to go. I think we need to see it. Let's see how it goes. And then front three, Rashford, Højlund, and I would put Mount on the right-hand side. Now, you could put Garnacho there. You could put Pellistri there. You could put Bruno there and put Mount centrally. But that is how I think he will line up. I think it makes the most sense. Mason Mount will probably be only able to play about 60 minutes anyway because he only played 45 the other night. So I think put Bruno Fernandez in his best position. I also think it's really important that we do not experiment too much in this game. I know we beat Crystal Palace and everyone's waxing lyrical about that performance. It was half a reserve team for Palace and it was half a reserve team for us. This will be a different game. They will take it more seriously. Their better players will be in the team. They'll be better organised. They'll be more of a threat. I think we've got to take it very, very seriously. And I think, therefore, we can't afford to do experiments like let's try Mount at number 10 and put Bruno on the right. Put your best players in their best positions. And, Bruno Fernandez is not going to be a long-term right winger. He has to be the number 10. So I think that is how I would line up. I don't really feel that anybody from the game on Tuesday really forced their way into the team. I was pleased with Garnacho, Pellistri. Martial did quite well as well. But apart from Mason Mount, I don't really see anybody that's going to force their way into the team. And I think that team's strong enough to go and get a result against Crystal Palace. NS says, what if it's the diamond? The diamond could happen, and I'm glad that you brought that up. We could play a diamond where you basically play the same team, but Rashford goes up with Højlund and Mount drops into the diamond. We did the diamonds against Brighton, and it failed terribly. I just wouldn't do it. I don't think there's a team in the Premier League that you can try this diamond out with that they won't exploit it. Maybe Luton or Sheffield United, but I just don't think in the middle of September or the back end of September, it's the right time to be trying out a diamond that clearly they don't understand, and they didn't understand it against Brighton. I'd go with the system that we know against Burnley. We gave up possession and we ground out a win. I don't think today is the day where we go, let's try the diamond again. I think we've got to go through a few games where we play a familiar formation and we grind out some wins. I'm not really expecting Man United to play scintillating football against Crystal Palace on Saturday afternoon. I'm not expecting it against Galatasaray middle of next week or Brentford the following week. They're 3 home games. Let's not concede goals. Let's get goals. Let's get 3 wins, international break, get some people back. Happy days. And I think that's what we need to do. So, look, it could be the diamond, but maybe that is the long-term plan. But I think it's a risk. I really do think it's a risk to start trying to get that diamond in. We've lost 3 of our first 6 Premier League games. We can't afford to be drawing, let alone losing. And I think Crystal Palace against Man United could be, if you are somebody that's putting it in an accumulator or fancy Premier League or anything like that, the logical is probably a draw. I've got to be honest, it probably is a draw. But I'm going to go with a Manchester United win. I'm going to go with a Man United 2-0 win. I agree with your predicted 11, says Anthony. Well, let me know your thoughts. And I actually think that is Ten Hag's best front 6. Casemiro, Amrabat, Bruno, Rashford, Højlund, Mount. I think that in his head is his best front 6. Now, admittedly, I'll concede it could be in a diamond formation, but I think that's his front 6. When Anthony's back, it'll be very interesting because he won't keep Anthony on the bench. But I think right here, right now, that's his best front 6 in his head. Anthony says, I agree with your predicted 11. Mount played his best on right wing with Chelsea, so he can do it well there. Casemiro and Amrabat would give our midfield strong, says Anthony. And yeah, I don't normally go beyond the predicted 11, but what I'm looking for in this game, and it's no surprise, and it's it's not breaking news, our midfield, ever since Erik Ten Hag came, has been run through by better teams. We had a good season last year. We had a very good season last year. We had a very, very good season last year. We came 3rd and we won a trophy. That was very, very good. I think he did a great job. But during that season, there was at least 4 games where we got absolutely annihilated. And there was quite a few games where we did lose the midfield battle and still won. And the same thing has happened this year. We have never, under Ten Hag, got hold of the midfield. We've never really been able to consistently dominate midfields. And if you want to be a top team, you end up with 70% possession because you dominate the midfield. And we've not been able to do that under Ten Hag. And it's fascinating because that is what he is. And I know managing Ajax in the Eredivisie is very different, but actually is it? Look at Ajax in the last 18 months. They're absolutely shite. So all these people who say, wow, you can't judge Ten Hag possession-based dominant football at Ajax because everybody does that. Well, they don't. They actually don't. Ajax are shit. And I know they lost a lot of players, but they've lost their ability to dominate as well. They've lost their identity. So, look, Erik Ten Hag is a coach that wants to dominate possession. And he's found it very, very difficult in the Premier League to do it with Manchester United. I genuinely think now, with Amrabat coming in next to Casemiro, there's no logical reason why, and Richie says Amrabat's a beast, there is absolutely no reason why we can't start to dominate midfields against teams like this. At Old Trafford, against the Crystal Palaces and the West Hams and the Evertons, and even the Aston Villas, we should be dominating the midfield. Of course, when you play Liverpool, Man City, Arsenal, I know it's going to be different. But, 85% of this league, we should be dominating them midfields. And we just haven't done it. But I think now there's a real opportunity for us to do that. Because Amrabat next to Casemiro, it's almost like Phil and Grant. I see a duo there that works really, really well. But obviously, a game is not won, a theory isn't played out on paper or on a computer screen. They've got to actually go and do it. But from what I've seen of Amrabat for Fiorentina and Morocco, and what we saw on Tuesday night, I don't see any reason why he's going to change this all-action, all-over-the-place player who's really good on the ball. And what I'm hoping for, just Keevan says Amrabat's a game changer. One of the things I'm really hoping for, and I would expect most of you get it because you're intelligent people. You watch the United Stand. I hope we're going to see a freer Bruno. Because Bruno Fernandez does a lot of defensive work in that team, and he doesn't actually need to. I'm going to talk about injuries in a minute because Abdi says Reguilon back already. He's ill, mate, so it's not an injury. I think there is a real opportunity to free Bruno Fernandez up. The same way that Arsenal do it with Odegaard. The same way that Spurs do it with James Maddison. Yes, when you haven't got the ball, your number 10, your attacking midfielder has to be part of the press, has to be part of the shape. But Bruno Fernandez is all over the place when he's playing for Man United over the last 12 months, all the time. And I think if this works with Casemiro and Amrabat, then whoever plays in that number 10 position should find themselves with a lot more freedom. And, whether it's Mason Mount, maybe a Christian Eriksen, certainly a Bruno Fernandes, then I think that's a positive. And Marvin, I actually agree with you. Marvin says Bruno's a headless chicken, and I think he is. I think over the last 12 months he is. And being a headless chicken, obviously a lot of people take that as a negative. But I think he's a headless chicken because he's trying to be everywhere. He's trying to do everything. We saw him playing centre-back the other day. He's trying to be everywhere because he's the captain and he feels it's his responsibility. What I would like Bruno to do, it's what I did at the end of my career. I just played CDM and never moved out of a 10-metre box in the middle of the pitch, which was great for me and my back. And I just conducted things. Carrick did it at the end of his career. But I would like, Bruno's not at the end of his career. I'd just like Bruno to operate. If I can, it'll be a bit messy for me to show you this, but I don't really want Bruno Fernandes to operate out of anywhere other than sort of this area. Like an oblong here. Just that, really. Just moving around that area. But Marvin's right. For the last 12 months, he's been all around here. All around the world. That's where he's sort of going. And I want him to be sort of more around here. He will have to come back when we haven't got the ball. But I just want that attacking midfielder to be doing that. Just around that area. And I think that can happen if we've got Amrabat and Casemiro. But it can't happen if you've got Casemiro and Eriksen. And Bruno has been at fault even this season for goals that we've conceded for not tracking the runner. But he shouldn't be tracking the runner if you've got people like Amrabat and Casemiro. Naden, thank you very much for your super chat there. Appreciate that. We will edit the numbers, but some of us haven't got OCD and some of us have got a life and some of us touch grass. People are moaning because we've got Hoyland's number wrong. Until Rasmus drops me a message saying, change my number, I'm going to keep it at number 17 just to piss people off. It's like when we used to have the nationalities and we kept Delo as English. I am doing FPL this year. I had a good week last week, Felix. So let me just give you the latest injury news because there has been some update today in relation to injuries and I can give you all of that. So positive news is Mainu and Ahmad could both be back by the end of October, which is a lot sooner than you think because he is effectively, we have an international break which is going to take up 2 weeks. So there's real positive news there that Mainu and Ahmad should be back post-international break. Obviously, with there's a lot of football to be played. We've got the Champions League, Carabao Cup, Premier League. So having those two back is really, really positive. And I think that everybody could see that. As I said, I think that with Reguilon, McTominay and Eriksen, somebody said Reguilon back already because he missed the game in midweek. Reguilon played against Burnley ill. That's why he came off. So there's a bit of an illness going round United at the moment. Some people say it's COVID. I think I had it last week. It just knocks you for six. You feel quite fatigued. So I think there's a bit of something going around the United squad at the moment. And McTominay and Eriksen have had it and Reguilon's had it. But I expect Reguilon to be back on Saturday. And we do need him back. I know Amrabat did a good job there, but you need that left-footed balance. There was no overlaps on Tuesday, whereas there was down the right-hand side. So Ahmad expected back after the international break and Mainu as well. Luke Shaw, Malacia, Wan-Bissaka are long-term absentees. Don't expect them back. Probably, there's another international break in November. So I don't think we're going to see any of those three back until, sort of back end of November, December. So not great news on those, but I think we all knew they were going to be long term. Ahmad, Mainu coming back very, very soon, and McTominay, Eriksen and Reguilon could all be back for the weekend because it's an illness, isn't it? So they should all be back. Super chat coming in from Mario Franco. People don't realise how much Bruno has sacrificed his game because of others not doing their jobs. He's an offensive machine and we'll see his best. Bruno Fernandez and Marcus Rashford, I think, get a lot of bad press. Can I just say as well, if you haven't watched the call-in that we do on a Thursday at 4 o'clock, what a fantastically produced show. And what a pleasure it is to tune in while I was playing a bit of FIFA, practicing for tomorrow, which I need to do, listening to you people call in. Brilliant. I absolutely love the call in. This is exactly the vision that we have for the channel. It is about you, worldwide you. And if you haven't watched that show, a lot of people were calling in about the Garnacho Rashford thing. Loads to discuss. Do give it a listen. It was fantastic. Obviously, it's on the homepage. But what I was going to say is that Bruno Fernandez gets a really bad press at Manchester United amongst some fans. And I always just say this, Bruno Fernandez, since 2020, has absolutely created more chances than anybody in the Premier League. And Kevin De Bruyne has been in the Premier League since 2020. So Bruno Fernandez has been a revelation. And people will say, yeah, but De Bruyne gets injured. I couldn't give a shit. Loving the love for the call-in show, by the way. But, I think that with regards to Bruno Fernandes, if people say, well, Kevin De Bruyne has missed more games than Bruno Fernandes, that in itself is a bloody trait. The fact that Bruno never gets injured is a trait. I'm not listening to people who say Bruno's played more games in the last 3 years. Yeah, because he doesn't get injured. That absolutely is a positive. So, yeah, I'm going to say that I just want to see... Look, and Marvin was right. Bruno has run around like a headless chicken because he wants to be involved in everything. Naden, thank you very much for your super chat. But if he can discipline himself and revolve around the centre in a more attacking position, we'll get more out of Bruno Fernandes. He does never stop running, but you'll understand this the older you get. And not necessarily even in a footballing sense, just getting around the house, just getting around the supermarket. As you get older, the legs slow down a little bit. But I wish I'd known it when I was younger. You can conserve your energy. And I think Bruno wastes a lot of energy through enthusiasm and hard work, but actually he can box clever. He can choose his battles. He doesn't need to run absolutely everywhere. And that sometimes can lead to a lack of shape, which, as I say, the midfield has been chaotic for 12 months. So I'm looking forward to seeing it. Hopefully we're going to see it. I mean, who knows? Who knows what Erik ten Hag's vision is for his best midfield? And Nikki, welcome to the Members Club. Can't we rest some players for next Tuesday? I don't see how we can play the best 11 every game like last season, says Shahin. But we've literally just rested half the team. Bruno and Rashford have just had a whole big rest. Varane's coming back from injury. So I don't think we need to worry about it too much. There's an international break coming. I mean, you are right. We are playing on Tuesday again. But the gap's been pretty good. If you play on Tuesday and you're not playing again until Saturday, that's quite good. This is something that goes in our favour a little bit this season, is that we're not playing in the Europa League. Thank God. But Thursday, Sunday is a bloody nightmare. Everyone who loves Berbatov in the chat, come on United, says Naden. He's having his own little conversation there. But I absolutely don't believe that Manchester United should be dropping Rashford this weekend. I know people were calling in about it earlier. I think there's a bit of pressure on Rashford, but there should always be a pressure on Marcus Rashford. Every game he puts a shirt on for Manchester United, there is an expectation and a demand that he performs. There is a bit of a curse for anybody who gets paid more than £300,000 at this club. In fact, nobody at this football club should be being paid more than £300,000. But he's not had a very good start to the season. He hasn't had a very good start to the season, and by his high standards. So we do need a little bit more from Rashford. Of course we do. But Garnacho, what I want to see from Ten Hag, and I'm not the manager, what I want to see from Ten Hag on Saturday in his head is Nikki says my channel. What I want to see from Ten Hag is a mentality going into the game that I'm going to get Garnacho on with 25 minutes to go no matter what. Garnacho's coming on with 25 minutes to go. And actually, there might be a very natural way of doing that, because if Mount plays off the right, he can't play 90 minutes because he's only just coming back. So I'm thinking 60, 65 minutes for Mount, take him off, bring Garnacho on. But, I wouldn't be surprised if Rashford scored on Saturday, because I've taken him out of my fantasy Premier League team for another Man United player, which I'm not going to reveal because people might copy me. But I think that I'm very, very, very happy with what that team is on my left, and I wouldn't make any changes to it. I really wouldn't. Marvin says, do you think he's secured the bag and he's disappeared? Look, I'm not afraid to talk about anything as long as it's relevant to Manchester United. A lot of people were saying in the chat last season that as soon as he gets that contract, he'll fall away. I've heard a few things about Rashford, and I think it's, so much of it is unfair. The crash on Saturday night, people were making stuff up about that. I've heard some people saying about his personal life. He was in a relationship. They broke up in the summer. He's out partying a lot now. And I'm like, where's your bloody evidence? He's one of the most famous people in England, and he's certainly one of the most famous people in Manchester. If Marcus Rashford was out partying in pubs and clubs on a Friday, Saturday night, then we would have the evidence of it. So I just think there's a lot of noise around Rashford at the moment, and I still believe that he's one of our best and most important players. And I guarantee what will happen with Rashford is he'll score a goal, and then suddenly, bang, 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 bang. He'll just go into this vein of form where everybody has to sit down who's been criticising him. I like the pressure. There is pressure on Rashford. There are players like Martial, Garnacho, who can play that role. I like that pressure. I want every player to be under pressure, because that's what Man United is, and that's the Man United I know. Like, I remember, for 20 years, you could pick your best 11, but it might not be, because, Sir Alex would rotate it and they'd go, this player deserves to start. And I would love it if we had a holding midfielder that, put Casemiro under pressure. If we'd bought Kim Min-jae, Varane would be under pressure, and I think he's our best centre-back. I embrace the pressure. I just think some people have favourites, and that's problematic when you're trying to build a team, because you end up with, I want to see Pogba over Bruno, or I want to see Rashford out and Garnacho in, because it becomes about favouritism. And I really don't have that. I like Garnacho, I like Rashford, I like Pellistri, I like Antony, I like Martial, I like Højlund, I like Mount, I like Bruno, I like Amrabat, I like Casemiro. I like the options that we have, and really it's about rotation and it's about form. But I absolutely don't think that Rashford signed the new contract and lost his motivation, or that things have changed in his personal life and he's lost his motivation. There was an interesting story. Let me just read this super chat and I'll come back to that interesting story. Actually, Rory C says, I think Bruno chances created is a false stat, in that the wingers are so trigger happy, especially Rashford. Less chances created, more assists, says Rory C. Yeah, it's an interesting way of looking at it. I love the show with Beth and Adam today. Great to hear United fans speak today. I'm a Bulgarian who has grown up in London and played football my whole life. I would love to jump on the next call. Well, do, Naden, and definitely everybody in the chat, make sure you check out the call in after this. It was a brilliant show today. I really enjoyed it, and I don't tend to watch a lot of stuff on YouTube, so do give it a watch. But yeah, interesting story is what I was going to say, and I sometimes do this, and I remember now. I thought I'd forgotten it. So I think I might have mentioned it this morning, but somebody was on about it today. I was talking to someone today, and they were saying they've got information, but they were asking me. They were saying, what do you think about this story from Rob Dawson, that Jadon Sancho's not the only player in the club who's not giving everything, and Ten Hag is using Sancho as an example, that he wants everybody to work ridiculously hard. And there was a beautiful clip, and it is beautiful in a footballing sense. It's like the blossoming of a flower. There was a clip from Tuesday night where Garnacho lost the ball, went down on the ground and was disappointed, and then it was almost like Tyson Fury when he got up from Deontay Wilder. He's on the ground momentarily frustrated, and then he just jumps up straight away and chases the ball, and you're like, that will be joyful and triumphant to Ten Hag. When you see a player do that, I've played the game, I've managed the game at various levels, but I don't care whether it's under 8s or whether it's first team Man United. You see a winger go down under a tackle and they instantly get up and run back to win the ball, and you've got the right attitude in your team. And I think that's what Ten Hag wants. He wants that hard work that probably has been lacking at United. It's a mentality thing. You think about the Anfield game, how that went from 2-0 to 7-0 never should have happened, but heads dropped, mentality dropped, concentration dropped. So I was asked about this today. What did I think about this story that there's more than Sancho causing a problem? And I said, well, you do hear things. I mean, Man United is a massive organisation, and people do, I see people on social media who do get good information. We've had good information, and you do hear things, but sometimes you hear things because they want you to hear things, i.e. they want you to think these sort of things about, bad about this player or positive about that player. I don't know who it is, and I don't really think it matters, but I do think that, well, look, there's some players at that club that just aren't good enough. And there will be some players that don't have the right mentality. So, it as I said this morning, it stands to reason that there definitely will be some players in that dressing room that Ten Hag is concerned about their mentality or their effort levels. Of course there will. But no manager ever has the perfect squad. No manager is ever perfectly happy. And no squad isn't carrying demotivated players. It's always a balancing act. Jadon Sancho is a huge issue. Antony's a huge issue in a different way. I don't think there's anybody in that dressing room at the moment that Ten Hag is thinking about suspending or not letting train with the team. I think he's trying to set examples and get people motivated. Like Bruno Fernandez never stops running. That was brilliant from Garnacho the other night. I can see people in the chat saying, well, Rashford never does that. But I have seen Rashford do it. I've always, and also, this is the last thing I'm going to say about Rashford. Shaw is pivotal for Rashford, and he's been away, says Rory. Rory's on fire tonight. He is on fire. I noticed when Marcus Rashford got that back injury, was it 2-3 years ago? When Marcus Rashford got that back injury, I actually really was concerned about the rest of his career. Because I remember Van Persie had the same injury, and he said it's a psychological blow when you get that, because the pain, it's not like a normal football injury. You know, if you do a knee or you do your foot, everybody's had multiple of those injuries and they know how to heal them. But this back stress fracture thing, which really can be painful, it's almost a psychological one, because it's just a weird injury to have. I don't think since Rashford had that back injury, we've ever seen him really contest properly for 50-50s, whether it's in the air or not. I can't remember if it was a Man United game or an England game. I think it was a Man United game in the FA Cup final, wasn't it? There was a ball in the air that he should have run and gone for, and he just didn't bother. I think it was the FA Cup. Somebody in the chat will know. There was a game at the end of last season where Rashford just didn't contest the ball, and it looked really bad, and he got called out for it. You know, he just didn't jump and go for the ball. And I've got no inside information on this, but I said this a couple of weeks ago. It was the FA Cup final, thank you. I said a couple of weeks ago that I actually think Ten Hag is okay with it. I think Ten Hag treats Rashford like Ronaldo used to get treated by Sir Alex. And Sir Alex used to say to Ronaldo, you don't need to track back. Conserve your energy for the attack. And I think Ten Hag does it with Rashford. And I visibly see it. Because if he was purposely not tracking back, Ten Hag would make a meal of it. So I actually think it's understood from Ten Hag that Rashford either cannot or is not going to be doing that. But I also have a theory that since his back injury, maybe he can't do that. Maybe Rashford can't be that physical anymore because, because of the injury. I don't know. But I certainly think that if people think Rashford doesn't work hard, I think they're wrong. I think he works ridiculously hard when we're on the attack and puts a lot of effort in. Do I think he, works as hard as others defensively? No. But I've watched enough football. I don't think he's not doing it on purpose. I don't think he's there like, I'm not going to track back. I think Ten Hag is completely on board with it. And it might just be that the player can't do that. I mean, if you've got a player like Marcus Rashford and the fitness department are saying, if you make him track back and do 50-50s and that, he'll be injured. What do you do? What do you do? Look, we can monitor that because I think Ten Hag wants his team to work really, really hard. But first problem for Rashford isn't to track back. It isn't. The first problem for Rashford is to start scoring the goals, because the great talent that Marcus Rashford has is that he can have a below average game, 0-0, 1-0, we've won the game, 3 points. That's what Rashford is. And obviously at the moment he's not doing that. So the critics will say, well, he's not playing well and he's not contributing to the team. So you leave yourself open then. First thing Rashford needs to do is get back scoring, and hopefully that can start this week. What about his decision-making, Mark, says Dwayne? I think when you're the star player of a team, there is an onus on you to do something and produce something. And I think Rashford's very obviously a player that wants to get a shot off. And it can be frustrating when nothing happens. But look, as I said, for me, it's not a player I'd be looking to drop at the moment. It's a player that certainly starts on Saturday and is certainly in our best 11. I don't really see anybody that's forcing him out of the team yet. I mean, look, Garnacho's ceiling is higher than Rashford. I'm not going to deny that there might be a point in time where if Garnacho keeps working hard and growing, any time in the next 6 months to 18 months, Garnacho should be taking that left wing spot. I mean, that's a statement. People might be scared to say it, but some point in the next 6 to 18 months, Garnacho should be taking that shirt, because he'll be 20 in 18 months. And he should be Man United starting left winger. That's the talent he has. So, Rashford's challenge is he going to keep him out of the team? Is he going to evolve into something else? Is he going to go to the right? but Garnacho should be starting for Man United in the next 6 to 18 months. That's the talent he is. The British media will not be able to deal with that. But from what I've seen, Garnacho is a better talent than everybody we've got in that team in the front six. Everybody. I'm not even going to individualise it. As a talent and his age profile and his development over the last 12 months, it's a graph. It's a very easy graph to build. Like, on the graph, you've got Sancho, you've got Anthony, you've got Rashford, and then you've got this graph of Garnacho that is just steep. And unless injury or something weird happens, I don't see that graph line, stopping. And I mean, look, who's the most talented attacking winger? Who's the most talented attacker we've got? It's Garnacho. Tevin, thank you very much, sort of agreeing. I don't think people talk about that enough. He is the most talented attacker we've got on pure talent. He's got to deliver the talent and nurture the talent and develop the talent, but he is the most talented winger we've got, and attacker. And I think we've got some exciting ones. I still think there's more from Rashford. I still think there's more to come from Martial if he can stay fit. Højlund is massively exciting. Ahmad and Palestri still could do something. I still think there's more to come from Anthony as and when he returns. We've got some really talented players, but I think Garnacho handled the right way, and I love his work ethic as well. I think he's the most talented player we've got, without a shadow of a doubt, in the attack. And for his age profile, you can't even predict what his ceiling is. It's amazing. There we go. Anyway, look, a bit of a quicker show tonight because there isn't a hell of a lot to talk about, to be honest. We've done the preview. Do not forget to play the TUS predictor game. There is a free version, and there also is a version where you can win from £1,000 pot. Was it Ada won 500 last week? Well done to you. And you can play by scanning the QR code or going through the link in the video description. 10 scenarios, either ors, basically. Will there be more than 5 corners for Man United? Yes or no? Will Bruno get an assist? That sort of stuff. Give it a go. Playing again. It's only exclusively for you lot as well. It's not open to the rest of the UK or anything like that. It's only open for the United stand. So give it a go. Links in the video description as well. Don't forget to watch the call-in. You'll love it. If you're not aware of the call-in, show 2, Thursday, 4 o'clock today. People calling in onto the United stand. Absolutely loved it. Give it a listen. And finally, the third thing, you've got to watch this. Just as a personal favour to me. I put it in the live chat. Some of you might have seen it already. Goldbridge versus Thogden and Thogdad, American penalties. Now, Ginge beat me on sudden death, but you'll see one of the best goals. The camera doesn't even do it justice. You'll see one of the best goals. And remember, I'm going left foot, right foot. I'm into my 90s now, and I'm going left foot, right foot. Check it out. It's only 5 minutes long. Links in the live chat. Goldbridge versus Thogden and Thogdad. Give it a watch. Anne's already watched it and loved it. Go give it a watch now. Very entertaining. Really good editing from Matt as well. Thanks everyone for watching. And don't forget, tomorrow morning, if you follow the podcast, Goldbridge Saves Football, make sure you are following it. We've got a bonus Friday episode of the podcast going out tomorrow morning at 7 o'clock. You don't want to miss it. It's one of the best games I've ever invented. And loads of people are going to copy this game. So don't forget to listen to the podcast tomorrow. Thanks, everyone. Check out American Penalties. Goldbridge ball, actually kicking a ball. Brilliant in the live chat. I'll speak to you all in a bit. Thanks for watching.